Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to a very wet Carrow Road. I think the rain has stopped. Maybe not. There's still on some umbrellas out pitch side. It certainly eased a little bit. So let's hope that's not a metaphor for how this game is going to go this afternoon. Team news is going to be out in the next 2 minutes or so. My colleague Paddy Dallett should be joining us very, very shortly to give his take on how he sees this game lining up, and we could use any amount of words to describe it, can we? Big, massive, well, certainly a season-defining period. Whether you want to put that all on this game is up to you. We're just seeing Daniel Farke come out here to do his pre-match media. Of course, this game is televised on Sky Sports today, so no real place to hide for Norwich City after last weekend's defeat. Interested to hear what you guys think. Christopher has said, good morning from Canada. Come on, you Yellows. Harry, come on, you Yellows. Afternoon to Andy. Ben says back to the 4-2-3-1. Well, we'll find out in about a minute's time or so. Eddie is describing this as a must-win for Norwich City today. Of course, if they do lose it, it would be 8 points from safety after 10 games, a win, and that would take it to 2 points. So those are the margins in which Norwich City are operating in today. Let's see how things go down in about a minute's time or so when the team news drops. Of course, Ben Gibson unavailable today through suspension. Christoph Zimmermann as well. I suppose that one of the major talking points will be whether Daniel Farke elects to move away from that 3 at the back to a 4 at the back potentially. We shall find out in due course. And see Mr. Davitt should hopefully be with us very, very shortly. Let's do that. There we go. Paddy, how are you? Good to see you. A minute away from the team with the usual thing that I could cut across you. What are you kind of expecting today from Daniel Farke? What do you think he has up his sleeve?
I think he's going to change it, Connor. That's my first thought. I'm just trying to sort my screen out. So yeah, I think
Sorry, Pad, I'm going to cut across you straight away to bring you this. Norwich City line up in a 3-4-3 this afternoon. 3 changes. It looks a little bit like this. Tim Krul in goal, Andrew Omobamidele, Grant Hanley and Ozan Kabak. Interestingly, Kabak moved to the left-hand side of defence for this one. The 4, Max Aarons on the right, Milo Rashica on the left with a midfield 2 of Norman and Kenny McLean. And a front 3, Josh Sargent on the right, Kieran Dowell on the left and Timu Pukki up front. The subs bench, Angus Gunn, Dimitris Giannoulis, Brandon Williams, Lucas Rupp, Billy Gilmore, Pierre Lees-Malou, Przemysław Błacheta makes the bench for the first time this season, I believe, Adam Ida and Christos Zolis. Pad, let's talk about the left side then, because that's interesting. Ozan Kabak flicks from the right to the left. There's no Giannoulis, no Brandon Williams. Milo Rashica takes that role. Kieran Dowell is added to that as well. That's an interesting combination that Daniel Farke has gone for on that left-hand side.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't just gone the same 10 at Chelsea and then Gibson out on Obama-Daly, and that is kind of a reflection of the week we've just had. I think it was pretty evident when Stuart Webber did his media and said whatever else about fans and what have you, but today they need to be aggressive, they need to be on the front foot. Well, you don't really do that with a 5-3-2 formation. So, if there was any doubt in my mind, then that probably ended it, that we'd see a few changes. And clearly Dowell and Rashica in from the start is a bold move, isn't it? So, that is an interesting redeployment for Kabak. I thought he was very poor, albeit against Hudson-Odoi at Stamford Bridge. So he'll need to up his game. But it sort of underlines the guy's versatility, doesn't it? But for me, it's kind of forward areas because ultimately, the goals for record tells you that needs to change and pretty quickly. So, Dowell, could this be the day? We've talked a lot about him, and is he a bit like the team he plays for and the club he plays for, in between the Championship and the Premier League in terms of quality? Well, the jury's still out ultimately. He might say, well, I haven't had a sustained run at this level, but this could be the start of something today if he leaves in it a positive impression. And also Rashica, just finally on him, I would say he needs to deliver as well. We've heard a lot about him against Stuart midweek, talking broadly about the summer recruitment and that Rashica was one who, because he'd had a poor 12 months in Werder's relegation season, had fallen down the pecking order. But prior to that, he was getting linked with very, very big moves. So there's a player in there, that tells me, and we haven't seen enough of it so far. And I think by now, I know he's had another addition to his family and obviously moving to a new country as well. That all takes time to acclimatise, but 10 games in now, he should know what it's all about with his teammates, with Daniel, with this club. So he needs to perform as well. So big decisions and big moments ahead for a lot of these players, because ultimately, Daniel is looking for an 11 to come onto the pitch at this level and win games of football. And if they do that, then endless talk about formations and personnel will be at an end, because all we want, all these fans here want today is an 11 on the pitch who can be competitive against the ball, and more importantly for me now, creative with it and actually carry some punch. It's a bit of a show of faith in Sargent as well, and he definitely needs to deliver. So we are where we were after Chelsea. These players need to respond, but certainly Daniel, with that team selection, indicates that he recognises maybe today is the day.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was just trying to find the Leeds team on mute. Leeds line up like this. They're in a 4-2-3-1 this afternoon. They've got Meslier in goal, Shackleton, Llorente, Liam Cooper, the captain, and Dallas as their back four. Struick and Phillips, the midfield two. Rafinha on the right, which we'll come on to in just a moment. Harrison on the left with Daniel James in behind Rodrigo. Daniel James, of course, caused big problems for Norwich City, for Swansea City in their first Championship title winning campaign. So we're all aware of what he can do. Pat, how much, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because Norwich City signs 2 left backs this summer, essentially. Demetrius Yunus on a permanent basis, of course, and Brandon Williams on loan as well. Both of them dropped to the bench this afternoon, which maybe doesn't make for great reading for those two. But how much do you think this is tailored on trying to halt Rafinha and the quality that he has on that right-hand side for Leeds?
Yes, I'm sure that is a major factor. Albeit in a team that have been struggling to win games of football, he does look a bit of a standout, particularly with the Bamfords of this world, and Phillips only recently back in the fold. And yeah, ultimately, what is Daniel's selection about? It's about offering and adding something more with the ball, but they still need to, understand where the threat will come from for Leeds. And as I say, I'm very interested to see Kabak in that wider left role. What does it mean for Giannoulis? Well, we had all that speculation again in the Greek media midweek, which is, by all accounts, well wide of the mark, that he's already accepted Norwich are down and that he's off, if he can, in January. Clearly would be frustrated at how his season has gone so far, what happened at Man City and then obviously what happened at Chelsea. Hasn't got himself back in the side today. That's another situation, one of many that it feels Daniel is trying to manage, the Billy Gilmore situation. Zolis, I see, again, not in the 11. That will, I'm sure, and I can see a few comments coming in, that will, again, perturb quite a number of people. But ultimately, can any of those players I've mentioned just then have any complaints when you've got 2 points from 9 and you've just coming off the back of a 7-0 defeat? I don't think they can. So, if I'm Giannoulis, I've got to keep my head down. A bit like Cantwell, the messages that have gone out to him, and try and work my way back in, because have you really done enough individually in your performance levels this season to warrant being in the 11? I don't think he has, but he's not alone in that. So, it feels a bit more of a shuffle in the pack again today, but I think that's where we're at. Everybody's, I'm sure, taking the temperature on social media today in the hours prior to coming to Carrow Road, and I think there is a sense it is make or break today for a lot of reasons, and you just hope that, come the final whistle, that the story is about signs of a Norwich revival rather than, unfortunately, what could happen if they don't perform as a collective. The result is one thing, but if there is a limp and willing to raise the right flag as they were at Chelsea, heaven forbid what this place is going to be like.
Yeah, like I say, I don't think it's any surprise, is it, majorly, that Daniel Farke's made 3 changes and changed the shape. I suppose what's interesting today is the attacking elements that he's added into this team. Milo Rashica looks like he's going to be playing effectively as a left wing back in a 3-4-3 system, which is particularly interesting. Kieran Dow's inclusion as well. Josh Sargent remains, despite some criticism for his last few performances. I think that's probably fair to say. So this looks like a team from Daniel Farke that is hell bent on getting that first goal, as he talked so much about in Friday's press conference, and as we know in Premier League football is so important.
Yeah, particularly with Norwich's abject record, and they do concede first at this level. It's not the only abject record, and sadly that they're holding on to at the minute. But that one particularly, because I think it was the whole of last season, wasn't it? 2 seasons ago, sorry. When they conceded first, I don't think they even came back to get a point. I might be wrong, I'm doing it off the top of my head, but but that sense that if they go behind in games at this level, they're not able to even muster a point out of it, then that won't do anything to alter the narrative if they fall behind. And as a result, to take your point, Connor, try and drop in some more attacking options with a view to, as Stuart said, as risk of repeating myself, front foot from the start, get this crowd behind them. And if they do that against, let's not build them up, to Chelsea proportions. They're far from it. This is a team here who finished 9th last season, and maybe they're feeling a little bit of the second season syndrome for promoted teams. They've one win against Watford at home. They're missing some big key players. Their talisman is only just back in the fold, so he's not going to be fully up to speed. This is an opponent who Norwich need to be running over the top of for me today, because if they don't, that just adds more fuel to the fire that this group and this head coach don't have it about them.
Go on then, Pat. How do you see this game going then to close us? Are you feeling optimistic now you've seen that lineup? I'd say probably a mixed reaction from some of the comments and from kind of the early reading I've taken off social media. So what's your kind of view?
I was a bit concerned when I pulled the curtains back this morning and it was kind of howling a gale and trees getting blown past the window, because you just feel, does that sum up the type of day we're going to have in store when we turn our attentions around to the football? But as I look out over the pitch, I think there's a lot of rain clouds about, but I'm seeing a bit of bright sky. So let's go metaphorically. That's a good sign. And I just think if they can't arouse themselves to, it's not so much about the quality element. It's just look like they care, look like they have it in them, that their pride has taken a massive dent, and that they've got some fight and spirit about them. And if we get those staples, then that's the basis, at least, for a performance that you can say, well, okay, they've had a go. And then ultimately you hope they've got enough quality about them to get themselves over the line. I could see a draw, if I'm honest, but in the spirit of, I'm looking over the river end, and I might pan round when you do your final sign-off, but I'm seeing bright skies, so let's cling to that, and we'll say a narrow Norwich win. Yourself, Connor?
I can also see a draw. I must be honest. I don't know if that's good for either side particularly. I just think, given the magnitude of this game, Leeds, of course, need a win as well. They've only won once this season. As they they've ramped up inside here. It maybe just feels like both teams are going to cancel each other out. But Norwich need to win this game, don't they? So let's hope, like you say, they can get a narrow win. And as you say, Pad, people come for the team news, but they stay for the weather reports, don't they? So that's good. Clear skies on the way, which I'm glad to hear. Pad, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all very much for watching. Pinken.com, of course, the place to go. We've got our live blog with my colleague Dave Freezer, all the analysis and reaction from this game as well. If you're coming down to Carrow Road, it'd be good to see you here. And let's all cross our fingers for a positive Norwich City performance.